Welcome everybody to this ChatGPT for Sales webinar. I am Marianne McLaughlin, and with me is Mike Jacato. And right now we've got about 580 some people who are in, and there's a few in the waiting room. We have an action-packed day though, so we want to get us started. So first I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to all of you for joining us in this webinar. We had over 1,000 people register. I think that some people actually couldn't get in because it was closed at 1,000, and several clients, several new customers, and we hope that we really help you get a lot out of this today. And Mike, before I get us started, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think we have nearly 300 different companies here, which is a record for us in a webinar. And yeah, so I think we have one company with over 90 people and another one with over 70 people. So we appreciate your investment in us and the time in us. We also want to thank you. This is our 10-year anniversary month. So we call it a decade of excellence. We really want to thank you guys for investing time in us today. And also want to thank our customers. You guys have been wonderful to us over the years. We really appreciate you and what you've been able to do for us. So thank you.
Excellent. I appreciate that. Well, in the spirit of the Bob Dylan theme, what we like to say at Butler Street is change is never change when it's the logical next step. And there is a lot of change coming with AI. And we hope that by the end of this, you feel like it's the logical next step and you are as excited about it as we are. So today's agenda, we're going to talk a little bit about what it is and what it is not. We're going to spend some time giving you guiding principles around ChatGPT. We are going to dig in and really share the importance of crafting the right kind of prompts to get the results that you need. And then in the second half of this, we're going to go live with some sales simulations in ChatGPT so you can see how the prompts work and what it can really do for you to help your prospecting and sales effort. And then after the presentation, we're going to come back for some live Q&A. So feel free during the presentation to put your questions in the Q&A panel. We will monitor it, and then as much time as we have at the end, we will get into it. And then we'll talk about next steps. AI is definitely here, and we've got you. That is why we're doing this free webinar. We know there's a lot of information out there, and we got you covered. So with that, I'm going to get us kicked off with a poll. And the poll is going to ask you here, how do you think AI will impact you as a salesperson? So if you're not a salesperson and you are leading a sales team, think about it with your team, but you got a few choices here. It'll help with some of the mundane parts of your job. I don't think it'll make that much of an impact. I fear it will replace me. It will serve as my sales assistant, helping me to be more productive and improve my skills. It's overhyped and a passing fad. So I can see there's quite a few coming in. We've got about, wow, you guys are fast. About 70% of people have already responded.
It's a smart group too, I think.
It is. It is. Happy to see this.
You're over 80%. The others might be doing emails or eating a ham sandwich. We don't know.
They're still flying in. We'll give them, let's do a 10 count countdown. So we'll close it in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just under the wire. And we got 85% of you guys were able to respond to this poll. So thank you very much. And the results, as you can see, it is a smart group. 72% said it will serve as my sales assistant, helping you to be more productive and improve your sales skills. And yes, it will. And we're going to show you how. And then the next highest one was it'll help with some of the mundane parts of your job. And it absolutely will do that as well. Few people think it won't make it much of an impact. A couple people think it'll replace you. And a few people think it's overhyped and a passing fad. Well, let me tell you this. there are quite a few people that were worried that it was actually going to replace them. In fact, there's this one gentleman who was so concerned about it. He actually went to a city council, and I would like to share you what he said about it.
I hate jobs. I had a job once and everyone there talked in weird voices. AI is gonna 86 all of that, but we'll still need money. That is why I'm asking the government to step up and make sure we're breaded. We are proposing a small payment plan or a small PP of 10G a month for every citizen so we can party and look hot and enjoy our free time.
I love that. It was taking Twitter by storm, or I guess now it's called an X, as much as it's just changed in the last couple of days. But we're pretty sure, as you just answered this poll, if you thought that AI was going to take away your job, you're still going to need money. And I'm pretty sure the government's not going to keep you breaded. So hopefully in today's session, in today's webinar, you will learn some tips to keep you breaded. One of the things that we want to start out with, and I wish I had the ability to speak really, really fast like they do in those commercials about all the things that you need to be aware of or the disclaimers. It's important, though, that you understand ChatGPT or AI is not a panacea. There are things we need to be really cognizant of. So privacy concerns. ChatGPT doesn't retain personal conversations. However, you really don't know what data might be leaked or exposed. So be very, very cautious of putting anything in about your personal information or confidential information about your organization. Also, when you ask it certain things, it may pull things that are copyrighted, which could lead to plagiarism risks. You never know from a data perspective, it's going out to the wide web. So it's pulling information. You're going to need to gut check it. There's also on the right side here, you're going to see some things. It's not human. So there could be some information that's miscommunicated. It doesn't know whether or not it's being biased or it's generating content that's not appropriate. And the one thing that we really want to make sure that you are aware of is that you need to make sure that you don't lose the ability to think. Don't get too dependent on AI. So really the key message here is never ever put confidential, sensitive, or personal identifying information into open AI. You may have heard 100,000 ChatGPT accounts were compromised in a hack. I wonder if someone prompted ChatGPT to hack itself. Why we're really here, though. So to quote the late great Zig Ziglar, he said, "You can have everything you want in life if you will just help enough other people get what they want," which is really quite similar to Butler Street's mantra is, if we solve our customers' problems, we'll solve our own. And right now, with AI taking the world by storm, what we're trying to do is cut through all of the information that's out there and make it easy on you. We have hundreds of man hours into learning what will make you as a sales professional more productive by using ChatGPT. So what is ChatGPT? Well, it is an AI-powered large language model, LLM, you might have seen that before, developed by OpenAI. And GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Yes, we're using those words now. Generative Pre-trained Transformer. I am confident never before did I use those three words together in a sentence. What ChatGPT is not. It is not human. It does not possess human level understanding or consciousness. You might see when we go live and we show you some interactions between Mike and ChatGPT that they actually know each other, but they don't. It also can, as I mentioned earlier, occasionally generate incorrect or biased responses. It cannot and should not replace human expertise, but rather augment it. So why should we care so much? Look on the right. Speed is the currency of today. And on the left, you see this chart of these applications or organizations that reached 100 million monthly active users and the time it took. And I'll just start with Instagram because you can see below that was even longer. But Instagram took 2.5 years, 30 months. TikTok, 9 months. ChatGPT, only 2 months. Only 2 months to get to 100 million. active users. So why should you care? Because everyone cares. Everyone is using it. So while today we're going to talk about ChatGPT in particular, we do know that there are other AI tools out there, and the same concepts that we're going to share today will apply. But just to give you kind of a quick overview of 3 of the most used right now, and I know Microsoft is launching Copilot as well. Don't have enough information on that to share at this point, but ChatGPT has the free version and it has a $20 a month version. But what you're going to see us use today is the paid version, and the reason is that you always get a login. So if you've ever used the free version and you can't get on, it's because there's too many users. The paid subscription gives you that, as well as some additional tools that you can add in to make it even more useful. ChatGPT is limited to September of 2021 in the data that it pulls, versus some that is live data on the internet. Also, some cite sources, some do not. In the bottom left is what we really want you to lean into, and that is use ChatGPT as a personal assistant. And I'm going to turn it over to Mike. He's going to share some guiding principles around that and really get into how to use it.
Thanks, Marianne, and appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and talk for the next 5-10 minutes about these guiding principles. So I think everybody would agree there's a lot of talk about AI. Some of it fact, and let's face it, some of it may be fantasy. But I do know one thing. AI will be disruptive. It has the capability to be not only the biggest change in our lifetime, but the biggest change in anyone's lifetime. So let me lay this down for you. If you want to try and beat AI, you're going to lose. What we're trying to get across in this webinar is that you don't need to beat AI, you need to use it. And in order to use it, you need to think differently. So let's start with the first simple truth. Technology for transactions, people for relationships. How can we leverage AI, in this case, ChatGPT, for transactions that will give us time so that we can build better relationships? Things like researching companies and people, building value statements, crafting emails, building outbounding prospecting scripts. We can do this in record time with a tool like ChatGPT, which will enable you to develop human skills, relationship skills like active listening, empathy, effective questioning, objection handling, solution selling skills so that you can solve your customers' problems, which will result in stronger relationships. The second thing we need you to think about is augmented intelligence versus artificial intelligence. Now, here's the thing about this. It almost doesn't matter what industry you're in. You're going to be able to do a better job with AI. And to do that, you need to get out front and lead. You need to stop talking about it, stop researching it, and start using it. At Butler Street, we made a commitment to this. We're using it for our email campaigns, our blogs. We're integrating it into our e-learning. We're integrating it into both our virtual training and our live training in the form of role practice, automated role practice. We're putting big dollars into this to get out front and lead. Now, you saw earlier, change is never change when it's a logical next step. Big believers in that. Change is inevitable, but the thing is, change at this speed, it's dangerous if you're not paying attention. So again, anybody who's been in our training knows, we always say the ability to change requires an ability to learn. We've got to create learning organizations, sustainable learning organizations. Now, there's 3 things that you've got to do. The first is you need to think differently. We talked about it earlier. AI is not the enemy. It's a tool that can make you better. So I want you to think about it. It's like cornerstone number 1, attitude. You're either part of the solution, part of the problem. Where are you going to be? If we consider the quote from Albert Einstein here, I think it says it all. We cannot solve our problems. with the same thinking we used when we created them. So let's go to number 2. Determine what AI can do better than you. Be honest, nearly every transactional part of sales, AI can or will shortly be able to do better than you. And this comes back to cornerstone number 2, personal accountability. We got to look in the mirror on this. We got to list everything that we think AI can do better than us and use it to augment us, which brings us to number 3. Learn what AI tools are available to augment or strengthen you. We said, not artificial intelligence, augmented intelligence. So think about, I guess we'll share later a number of the tools, but at the end of the day, this comes back to cornerstone number 3, perseverance. Progressive improvement is better than postponed perfection. You've got to make a commitment to get a little bit better at this every day. We, ladies and gentlemen, are in chapter 1 of a very, very fast-moving book on automation. So hold on. So I'm going to turn it over to Marianne now. She developed this formula, so I want to give her full credit for it and let her take it away. Marianne?
So thanks, Mike. You did a really great job of highlighting the first 3 of the 4 cornerstones, and I'm going to bring it home with the 4th one. I suggest everyone write this formula down. AI plus EQ plus H equals sales success in today's market. AI, artificial intelligence, plus EQ, emotional intelligence, plus H, the right habits to drive sales success. You have to leverage all the tools that AI has to offer in order to give you speed and higher quality so that you can concentrate on EQ. So you can bring your human side, your relationship side, your empathy in action, and all of that needs to have the right habits in place. That will certainly drive sales success. So you may be wondering, will you be replaced by AI? Well, I can assure you that not immediately, certainly not yet. However, you may be replaced by another salesperson who's effectively using AI. What we really want you to think is it is your sales assistant.
Thanks, Marianne. Appreciate it. So we're going to move forward. Again, in our training, we use this statement. In the eyes of the customer, you're defined by the quality of questions you ask. Great open-ended questions get the customer speaking. And when the customer is speaking, we are learning. We're able to learn what their critical concerns, their objectives are, and we're able to build solutions for them. The same principle applies here with ChatGPT. A little different. With ChatGPT, the quality of the answers is directly proportional to the quality of the prompts, questions that you provide. Similar, right? If you provide great prompts, you're going to get back great answers. So here's the question. Where can we, or where can ChatGPT augment the skills of salespeople? Now, I'm going to tell you here, the short answer is pretty much everywhere. But we captured, I think, 7 here, and we're really going to concentrate on just a couple, the sales scripts and sales outreach. And then we're going to drop down here. We're actually going to do a negotiation, not a negotiation, but an objection handling role practice with ChatGPT. So that'll be interesting, coming up soon. So next we want to talk about proficiency in prompts. And this is very critical. So why are prompts so important? You got this NLP, natural language processing chatbot. It's trained to generate human-like responses. So the prompts provide everything from role to context to specificity, intent, and it also allows you to provide the response format that you want. Optimize for brevity, make a list, whatever it is. Here's the key. The broader the prompt, the less specific the response. The more specific the prompt, the better the response. And it's getting to a point now where you take a step back, one of the hottest jobs going right now, prompt engineering. I don't even think that existed a couple of years ago. That's how fast things are changing. So to summarize our goal with this session and what we're trying to accomplish with you, we really want to share how high quality, informative, engaging prompts can be optimized to, number one, ensure relevant and accurate responses from ChatGPT, so you're not wasting your time. And number two, really, and this is the whole thing, go back to people for relation, enhance the skills and productivity of the salesperson. All right, so let's get started. So there are 4 types of prompts. We've got instructional, exploratory, scaffolding, and interactive. And we're going to walk you through each of these prompts, and in the spirit of time, give you an example and plug it into ChatGPT. So first is instructional. These are explicit commands to guide ChatGPT to do something specific, like give me the top 4 to 5 challenges for a director of warehouse operations in the logistics industry. Design 10 of the best prompts, or draft me an email to a customer apologizing for service. So, Marianne, which one would you like to choose to drop into ChatGPT?
All right, so we're going to go live with this one. I say the first one.
All right, so I'm going to share. We're going to drop into ChatGPT because I don't like to type. So I'm going to go ahead and talk these prompts through. So Marianne chose the first one. So I'm going to put on my microphone down here in the little right-hand corner. I've got a new chat. What are the top 4 to 5 challenges for a director of warehouse operations in the logistics industry? Turn off my microphone so it doesn't continue to pick things up. Hit return, and bingo, bango, look what we get.
Wow. Think of the amount of time a sales rep would have to spend trying to find that information. It's a lot. Can you make it more brief or easier to see?
I'm going to take a crack at that. Optimize for brevity. Boom. There you are. There you are. So a lot of salesperson can use right there. Now, obviously, all this stuff, you have to tailor, you got to understand your customer, but you got the information that you need to start the process of outbounding. So I'm going to go ahead and get back to the deck and walk through the next type of prompt. So we go to exploratory. Now, this is when you need a starting point for generating something, either imaginative, it could be imaginative, but you needed to explore something. So the first one's up. What would the future be like in 3 years for a salesperson if they did not choose to augment their skills by leveraging AI? Doggy. What are the 2 to 3 financial targets and operational outcomes for a director of warehouse operations in the logistics industry? And what would the world be like if dogs could talk? It's a bit of a fun one. All right, what do you want?
I get to pick again. Well, I assume that you've probably already done the what would the world be like if dogs could talk.
I did.
Love the first one. But I think in the best interest of this webinar, let's build off of what we already did. Let's go with the second one. What are the 2 or 3 financial targets and operational outcomes?
Okay, so I will share ChatGPT again.
And while you're doing that, I just want to make the point, you are showing that you can speak into it from a microphone, which is not standard. You have to add that in. It's not hard, but I just don't want people, if they're looking at their own ChatGPT, to understand why they don't have a microphone.
Guys, top thing you got to do, it's a plugin. I can't live without. It has become my friend, as Marianne knows. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do the second one here. So this one is, what are the top 2 to 3 financial and operational outcomes for a director of warehouse operations in the logistics industry? Shut off my microphone, hit it. Now, this is interesting because you've got cost efficiency, you've got your financial and operational is driven as productivity and throughput. It looks like they haven't separated it. So, but still good information. You've got it. You can use it. And this is the type of things that you can use to build the value statement. Man, you look disappointed. What do you want me to say?
Well, I think you made the point earlier is that the way that you put in information in the prompt is the way that it's going to get you outcomes. So I wasn't disappointed. I was just rethinking the prompt, and maybe 2 to 3 is the total, is how this Chat GPT understood it, instead of 2 to 3 for each.
Okay, so let's adjust the prompt and see if I can get this right. What are the top 2 financial targets and the top 2 operational outcomes for a director of warehouse operations in the logistics industry? There we go. That's what we want. That was you're looking forward to: cost reduction, revenue growth and profitability, operational, optimized inventory management, enhanced order fulfillment. They got to get product out the door, right? Because if they don't get product out the door, they're going to lose revenue and potentially customers.
Right. So while you're going into the next type of question, those first couple that you shared were absolutely useful. They would make a customer or a salesperson be in the customer's operating reality. The more you feed, the more you get specific, the more specific answers you're going to get.
Exactly. That's why we say you got to use it to get better at it. Got to use it. So let's go to scaffolding. Now, this is one where you need to provide framework. Think scaffolding of a building. You're going to keep building off of that and make it better and better. So now this one starts with create a prospecting email for high D personality. You can do that. You can say persuasive. You can say conversation. There's a lot of things that you can do here. And this is another one: act as a salesperson. Anytime you can act as something, you're providing a role to ChatGPT. Now, I'm going to go off the reservation a little bit on this one, and I'm going to go plug in one that we did for Butler Street, if you are okay with that. I'm going to do a new chat and build one of the ones that we did, it's, particularly for this webinar. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to paste this. I'm not going to use the voice because it's too much to say. And I'm going to go ahead and hit return. And I'm not going to go through this entirely, but it says, act as if I'm a salesperson with Butler Street, a leading sales, recruiting, and leadership training firm made up of differentiator, former staffing CEOs, COOs, and so on and so forth. But let's just drop down there. I give it conversational language, no more than 125 words. Don't include this. We don't want marketing language. Give it structure, create 5 separate paragraphs, how I want those paragraphs structured with a signature line. Let's see how they did. And Marianne could be the judge on this. So what did you think? Did you like it?
All right. So what I liked it was that you gave very specific information in order to get this email or this message. So boost your sales team's productivity with ChatGPT, exclamation point. Our salespeople struggling to secure new client meetings. Great first opening. I think I'm not going to read the whole thing either as I'm going through it. Yes, I think it's really good. I also think that the mistake that people may make and that we want you to avoid is please don't just take that, copy paste it, and send it out in a mass email list to all CEOs or VPs or whoever you're targeting. This gives you the time to dig in and personalize it and really make it resonate, whether it's the subject line, certainly the person's name, but you really now don't have to spend the time crafting the message and spend your time personalizing the message.
Exactly. And I will tell you, I would not accept this because, as you know, some of you know, I have the attention span of a gnat. So I'm going to say to this, optimize with bullets.
Yes.
And let's see what it gives me now. It gives me nothing.
because
it didn't pick up on the word bullets. So I'm going to try this. I'm going to say optimize with bullets. Turn off. Now that's going to be better for me because I like bullet points, reading. It's that you've got almost condition, problem, solution there. So I'm much more comfortable with that. Any thoughts, Marianne?
I agree. Drawing your eye to bullet points is better. But that's, this is the point, is it is not perfect as it is, but boy, it gives you a great starting point if you know how to use it. And if you think about the work that Mike has done pre-creating these prompts, it's no small task. And those are the types of things that we want to help you with. So. And
by the way, that's a great point. It's scalable. Once I have this structure, I'm going to use it over and over again. So it's almost like a template for prompts. So, all right, so now we're going to go back to the deck, and we're going to talk about the final prompt here, which is interactive. And this is one where I have a special affinity for because you can role practice. We'll talk about that more in a second. But this one's facilitating interaction or an engagement for brainstorming or inspiration. I can sit back and say, let's simulate a client meeting whereby the client starts by telling the salesperson they're happy with the current supplier, and I'll get a full simulation. It'll write everything out, which is good. But in the spirit of time, what I'd like to do is I'd like to share one that we've done. Now we're going to activate the voice feature on this as well. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to share, and I'm going to go to one we did a while back, because this is how I role practice with Mr. ChatGPT. I told him up front, I want you to act as an HR manager who just told me my bill rate was too high for 10 picker packers for the holiday season. I will be the salesperson, but I want you to only reply as the HR manager. Do not write the entire conversation at once. I want one response at a time so we can role play. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole thing because we had a battle over this, but it made me better, and I know I made it better. So it hits me with the objection. Here we go.
I understand your position, and I appreciate the need for additional support during the holiday season. However, I'm afraid the rate of $19.35 per hour is just not within our budget. We want to remain financially responsible, and we believe we can find solutions at a more competitive rate. Could we possibly discuss some more cost-effective alternatives?
Now, I have to respond, and I did respond in a very timely manner, just like it was a regular conversation. But for this webinar, I'm going to come back and say, I appreciate your desire to achieve a more effective alternative, but if you don't mind me asking, what are you comparing our cost to? Because we never want to respond immediately to an objection. We want to ask exploratory questions. So it comes back and gives me
We've been exploring various options, including hiring temporary employees through other agencies. Also, we've been considering the option of encouraging our current employees to work overtime. Both of these options seem to present a lower cost to us than the rate you're offering. It would be helpful if you could provide some additional context or benefits that justify the higher rate.
Now, thinking about a tight talent market, experience, I asked that, are you not concerned that your employees, if they're asked to work overtime, that may lead to burnout and higher turnover? Of course, it does appreciate my expertise.
You make a fair point, and employee well-being is definitely a priority for us. Overworking our current staff is not our primary strategy, it's just one of the options we've considered. We're certainly open to exploring all possibilities, but we still have to balance that with our fiscal responsibilities. If you can offer some flexibility on the hourly rate, we might be able to reach a mutually beneficial agreement.
So you got to love him because he's still coming out at me looking for a reduction in cost. I'm not going to give it to him because then I'm going to come back and say, are we talking bill rate or effective bill rate? He's going to tell me, well, it's just a bill rate. And so then I ask another exploratory question. What's included in your bill rate comparison? And he basically tells me just the basically hourly rate quoted by the staffing agencies. Then I come back in, and here's where we start to level the playing field. First question, how do you factor in real costs into your bill rates, such as turnover, performance gaps, rework, waste, scrap, training costs, time to proficiency, cycle times, excessive headcount, and avoidable overtime? Guys, that is fully loaded cost. So I make it aware of fully loaded costs. This will be the last response I give before we jump out of this, but here's this response.
You raise an important point. While we do consider some of these factors on an individual basis, we haven't comprehensively factored all these potential hidden costs into our comparison of bill rates. The costs of turnover, performance gaps, rework, and training are indeed significant, but quantifying them can be challenging. If your proposal can help us better manage these costs, I'd be interested to hear more. Could you explain how your services address these areas?
And I went on to do exactly that. But one of the points that we want to make, Marianne, I'll let you chime in on this. This is role practice in the privacy of my own home, my home office, where I can learn, I can apply these things, this back and forth, and get better without having my peers or people are getting nervous about anything. So your thoughts?
Well, the other thing I really like about it is Mr. ChatGPT is not going to go easy on you, like perhaps your peers might when you're in a role practice session. And while that was a long back and forth. That's the beauty of it, because if you don't get comfortable creating conversations, early on you took them from a bill rate to an employee engagement conversation. You really change the game right out of the gate. So being able to practice that and say, wow, what if I try this? What's a potential answer they come back with? So there's so many ways that it will make you stronger than even the role practice live, which, don't get us wrong, is absolutely part of what you still need to do.
Yeah. Again, this thing's you still have got to have a conversation. So what it's giving us is the time to develop those people skills, those EQ skills. You're going to get answers from this thing. And by the way, if Marianne wanted to do it, she could say, be a high D personality, right? So none of your responses are more than 2 sentences. She could have made it much tougher on us. So we have that ability. And this is where we're taking all this stuff. We're going to get better and better as things move on. So I want to just talk about, just for a minute before I turn it back over for the wrap, but you think about a sample prompt formula. Nothing is perfect. Let me lay that down. This is moving so fast. You got to stay on top of it. But here's a pretty good, I'm going to say a pretty strong formula. So we start with the role. Act as if. I am a salesperson. I am a salesperson or a managing partner of Butler Street, or act as if you're an HR manager. Context. Now you want to say what it is exactly that you're trying to plug in here. I'm a managing partner with Butler Street, and we're a leading provider of X, X, and X. So I'm giving it some value statements. My intent is to get a meeting with this, and this is going to be an email one. And I want to be specific about what I want from this, the output, and that's going to take my response format down. So if we can do all these things, we're going to have a strong prompt. It's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be strong. So with that, I think, Marianne, I'm going to turn it back to you, and you are going to take us through.
For a wrap up, thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. So we had scheduled this webinar for 45 minutes. We only have about 6 minutes left. I'm going to give a fast wrap up. We have some time for Q&A, and Mike and I talked at the beginning and said we will stay on if there are additional questions. So we understand if you have other commitments, but we want to let you know that we will definitely stay on. So from just to give you the key takeaways in a nutshell, ChatGPT is definitely going to become an integral part of your learning curriculum and your professional development. Like I said earlier, it's not going to replace you today or maybe even in the near future, but you will be replaced by sales professionals who learn how to use this extremely effectively. And Mike brought home the point: technology for transactions, people for relationships. No matter how you slice it, sales will always be a relationship business. And so bring your EQ, bring your personality, your human side, along with your artificial intelligence and your great habits, and you are bound to win. We like to call it augmented intelligence, right? Because it's your sales assistant. So I am going to turn it over to Mike. He's going to share a little bit more about some of the things that we are offering, as well as some of the things that we didn't even get to that he's already advancing with his best friend, ChatGPT.
So thanks, Marianne. We've got workshops coming out over the next few months. I think they'll all start to hit in August, September, late August and early September. But the goal with this is to leverage the tool. And again, if you've been through our training, we always say we reserve the right to get smarter. And guys, this thing is moving so fast. It's hard to keep up. We've been working on this thing for 3 weeks, and we've had to make so many adjustments because, for example, at one point in time, you could only get 25 prompts in 3 hours, and now you can get 50, and that was as of 7:20. So everything is moving fast. Our job as an organization is to stay ahead of this thing and stay on it and make sure that we work that simple truth of technology for transactions, people for relationships, because it's still people buying from and selling to people. So I'm not going to read all this here, but getting more meetings, planning winning sales meeting with ChatGPT. We also have a leadership one coming out as well, because guess what? You can role practice a dash conversation. Again, those who've been through our leadership training, You can, if you think you've got a high D personality who's going to give you problems, who's been late 3 days a week, or is not doing their activity, you could set up a simulation, role practice that, get better, and then have your real conversation. And again, that's people for relationships, because you're better prepared at that point in time. So we, go ahead. I'll give it
I
back.
was going to say, so you'll get a link for this. It'll take you to the website so that you can see it, and there'll be more details later. But we want to give you this in a fast manner and a short series. But you wanted to close with this before we go to Q&A.
Yeah, and guys, this I don't want to be a hard ass about this, but Marianne said earlier, hundreds of man hours on this thing. I think we understand it pretty well. And we've rarely seen a phenomenon like this, at least in my lifetime. You guys know I'm old. I've been through a lot of this stuff. I am super, super motivated. Our team is super, super motivated about this. And the big thing I will put out is don't stand on the tracks when the train's coming through, because what we told our team a while back was we got to lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way. And I would strongly suggest you get into this mindset that this is my sales assistant, and I'm going to work with it every day and get a little better. And we're here to help. That's our goal. It's the end of the day, whatever industry you're in, we want to raise that industry up and have better interactions with our clients. Everybody wins in that case.
So there are quite a few questions in. We will not be able to answer all of them before the 1:45 Central Time mark, but let's start on a couple. One of the questions that came in was, can you dumb down the chat bot so it doesn't give you such eloquent answers in a role play? And yes, you can. You can be very specific about how you want the chat person to act, right? You've actually done that before, right? You can give them personality, you can tell them what they know, what they don't know. So yes, and we highly suggest that you do that. There was a couple in here, Mike. Were you using 3, 5, or 4 when you were doing the simulation?
Yeah. 4 is $20 a month. I jumped on that pretty quickly, and 4 has about 200 plugins. And again, you say, why are you doing ChatGPT versus Bard or Microsoft Bing? It's because of the plugins, guys. I can go in. Marianne pointed out it goes to September of 21, but I use Link Reader. And I can go into a publicly held company and my PDF reader and say, go into their 10Q, look at their risks or what they're worried about. So it's scanning that, and then give me a summary of 3 or 4 things that I can do. And then I go back and say, look at the Butler Street differentiators, and map out an email to the CEO or CFO of that company. So think about it, 200 plugins. Remember when LinkedIn came out, it was like $19 a month or something like that. $20 a month, it's gold. I'm telling you, it's gold, Jerry. What am I betting?
So that answers another question that came in. Do you think the $20 a month is worth it?
Yeah.
Sean asked the question. He said, knowing that salespeople will be using ChatGPT more, how can you ask prompts that will generate unique responses, assuming everyone's asking the same thing? And that's exactly what we are talking about with that AI plus EQ plus H. It's going to be the amount of emails that are going to come out are going to be multiplied by 1,000, but most of them are going to be the same. And so you have to really think about how you're going to communicate value, what types of prompts you're going to ask, and then edit it so that it really is yours. And that will be faster than what you're doing today.
Let me build on that, because what we provide in all our training is structure. Whether we're talking about a value statement, captivate, differentiate, validate, whether we're talking about objection handling, listen, acknowledge, explore, respond, whether we're doing an outbound call, disarm, purpose, whatever, we train it on our stuff. And then we ask the prompt questions, and it becomes much, much more refined. We make it smarter up front using our stuff, and it gets better.
Great point. So there was a question in here. What are your thoughts on referencing specific people or prospects? For example, write an introductory email to Marianne McLaughlin based on her LinkedIn profile.
So my feeling
take that.
Yeah, that's sensitive. I don't do that. I don't use names. I use profiles, positions, and then what I do is I'll use the link reader and put them on LinkedIn and say, look at their LinkedIn profile, and then I'll search that name, that LinkedIn profile, and I'll bring it in that way. But I'm not going to give it the stuff. I'll say, tell me 3 or 4 things about this person. Guys, also, you could go in and have the link reader read a LinkedIn post. You know, somebody writes a long article and say, summarize that with 2 or 3 key points, and then it will set you up so you can respond to that LinkedIn post. Now, why is that important? If you've got somebody with 12,000 followers and you respond, they respond back to you, your LinkedIn social selling index is going up. You're getting more and more exposure. And those of you that saw us work ChatGPT and LinkedIn, I mean, this has been one of our biggest webinars. So there's so much you can do, and it's moving so fast. But we don't like sensitive names, personality. We're still working through that, but we don't like that type of information in there.
So one question says, do you think the free version for beginners is as impactful as the paid version? And yes, so we started with the free version, and you absolutely should get on there and practice it. The drawback that we found initially is that there's so many users on it. Like kind of the prime time where you want to be on it, it locks you out. When you're in the paid version, you get in and you're able to use it. So, but I would say, yeah, don't wait. If you're not comfortable investing the $20 a month right now, go to the free version. So somebody said, oh, Susie's typing it, so we're good there. So we've got some people typing direct answers. Some of the plugins, do you have names of some of the plugins?
Talk to ChatGPT. How's that? This one, do you want the microphone? You can put that one in, and voice in is another. But if you do sign up for 4, you just go to it, and then to the 4 version, and it'll have plugins. You click on it, it has a plugin store, and then you can go on most popular. You can sit back and say, give me anything with voice, and there's like, I don't know, 15 of them with voice that you can plug in. So, and then there's text to speech. It's truly incredible, everything that's out there.
Yeah. So we'll take one more question, and then I think we need to probably let people get ready for their next, probably top of the hour meeting. There were a handful of themes and variations of a question that talked about all the other AI platforms that are out there, and essentially, how do you choose?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, we chose ChatGPT because it was the first. It's kind of the easiest to access. And the concepts around what we suggest you use it for, and what we're going to teach with prompts, will apply to all the AI platforms. I don't know, Mike, if you have anything to add to like why one over the other.
Well, I went to Google Bard. I started to work with Google Bard, but if you look at the last thing, it's more of a creative assistant. And if you think about Bing, because it has all the references, it's a research assistant. We wanted something that would be a sales assistant, because at the end of the day, we need this thing to help us move the needle. So it got out there first. It has the most plugins. GPT-5 is supposed to come out in June of next year, and it's a next generation thing. So I think we're pretty safe. And those of you who don't know, it started as an OpenAI platform, and it was a nonprofit until Microsoft went and bought it and pissed Elon Musk off. So now he's building his own one. So the race is on. That's what I'm going to say. But I think if you think of where we were a year ago and where we are today, if you can, we're with ChatGPT. We like it, but we're still researching the other ones. It will change your productivity and your abilities as a salesperson if you work it right.
Yes, there's no question about it. And you mentioned early that one of the fastest growing jobs is prompt engineer. And our thought is everyone here needs to be somewhat of a prompt engineer. So that's probably going to be part of our responsibilities going forward. So we'd like to help you get there. We went 5 minutes over. Again, we really appreciate you investing your time in us. Hope this was helpful. And
we still got a lot more questions coming in. Guys, we have a whole sales team, people ready to take your calls or your emails. Feel free to reach out, use the contact on our website. We'll get back to you. Again, we really appreciate you guys investing time in us today. And I hope it was very much worthwhile for you guys. A lot of work went into this, and I hope you see it.
Thanks.
All righty. Take care.